Welcome to What's Planned for Business Central 2023 Wave 1. Hey, I'm Eric, and just today, as this is recorded on a Wednesday evening, Microsoft came out with the list of what they're planning to implement in Business Central 2023 Wave 1. That is coming on April 1st, so that's in a couple of months. And as it has become a tradition, I take a look at this page together with you guys and give you my view of the things that are coming, and you guys can, let me know what you think in the comments below. Let's actually just get going, because the list is long as usual. Microsoft has been busy. The link to this page I'll put in the description. So if you want to check it out yourself, then that's where you find it. And as usual, Microsoft are grouping this. So the first group is Adopt Faster with Microsoft Power Platform. There's some new Power stuff. The one that caught my eye is use business events to notify and trigger external systems. That's kind of interesting. The example they have here is quote to cash. Actually, not quite sure what quote to cash is, but maybe procure to pay, quote to cash. Anyway, in the context of Business Central, anyway. So when an action is performed, triggered to select something. I think that's pretty cool. It's actually an ask that I have heard a lot, especially with my simple object designer creating APIs and ask for those event-based APIs. And the only solution that we really had up until this point was creating an event table, and then whenever something happened, write record into that table so you could subscribe to new records in that table. But this is pretty cool, so I am looking forward to this one. Get started, more samples, easier to do approval workflow with Power BI. And actually, here's another one: support dynamic environment and company in Power Platform Connector. This has also been a big ask, that the way it is right now, it's not really that easy to you build something that runs against the sandbox, and then you need to switch everything over to run against production, and suddenly that has to edit a lot of places and so on. There's a typo there, by the way. So that's pretty interesting also. The next section is application, and there are people way more qualified to talk about the application than I am, but there's a couple of things that caught my eye. The first one is set up and sync master data across companies. So Business Central, Dynamics Nav, Navision have always had multiple companies, but never really a good way to sync data between companies. But it looks like we're getting that now. And the typical use case here is, for some reason you're operating you have 10 different companies that covers different states or whatever it is. But in reality, it's the same item, it's the same deal accounts, it's the same customers, or stuff like that. It's the same dimension values. So suddenly you either need to maintain that manually, or you have to get a third-party app or somehow. But now you can do this out of the box. And from the description here, it kind of sounds like that some of this is perhaps inspired by the sync engine that runs the sync to CRM, to Dynamics 365. But I will see about that. But I think that I'm quite interested in that one. The other one that caught my eye was intercompany. So Business Central Dynamics Nav has had intercompany functionality for a long time. The main challenge is that it was designed for, you had multiple companies in the database, but each company had its own accounting department. So when somebody in company A wanted to do some intercompany, the system was kind of designed that, this went into the outbox and then the inbox, and then somebody else who was working that company would look in the inbox and, there's an incoming intercompany thing, and then work with it. But in reality, I have never seen that setup. Whenever somebody has multiple companies in Business Central that I have seen, it's mostly the same accounting department that are handling all the companies. So the concept of sending something and then also have to receive it is where the current setup doesn't really work well, because you're sending it to yourself. For why should you spend time now accepting it? Because, you send it yourself. So all the users I have met on this have had the same reaction. Well, they post in company A, and then, however that gets to company B, it just needs to get posted and be done. The user have no need to go into company B to redo the work they already did. And these are discussions I've had with Microsoft also, and trying to describe these scenarios. So let's hope that is what is going to be improved. I can see what they are also looking at here is adding more different document types and account types, and be able to banks and stuff like that. End-to-end flows are improved, so that duplicate data doesn't become manual attention in the no change cases, whatever, if that covers anything of the stuff I just talked about. Anyway, that one is interesting. There's a couple of preview item journals before posting. Well, we got preview posting in the general journal, so getting an item journal would be nice too. And another thing here, the Shopify connector becomes extensible. So when Microsoft added the Shopify connector, they basically made all objects, or most objects, non-extendable. I can't remember if there were some that were, but it kind of prevented us from doing things with it. So more of a black box. I think Microsoft's excuse was that they might change stuff, so they didn't want people to depend on stuff that they thought they would change. So I guess the underlying message here is that they're pretty sure they're not going to change it, since they will allow us to extend it now. So that's interesting. Another big one. So now that was the application, and check out, there are tons of blogs from the functional side of the world that will tell more about these things than I will. Next section, country and region. So here's a very, very interesting thing. Swedish localization delivered as an extension. So this is huge. So we kind of got that a couple of years ago with the Danish localization, because the difference between worldwide and Danish was very, very little, since the product started out as being a Danish product, and so by default it could kind of do the Danish stuff, and what I call the old Danish version is just the WE1 version, and what's in the Danish app, the Danish extension, are some very late additions to Danish localization. But Swedish localization as an extension. So what we want is that all localizations are extensions, and when that is, then I want to be able to load both the Swedish and the Canadian and the Italian onto the same database, so I can run one company with one localization and another company in another localization. And I know now you're yelling at the screen, say, Eric, that will never, because there are stuff that are incompatible, but that is the pipe dream. The pipe dream is to be able to support companies that does have these, they have multiple companies, and in Canada, we see it all the time. Then there's a Canadian company, they also have a US company, and then they have an Australian company, maybe they have a UK company, and multiple times, if I were able to add the UK digital tax thingy to my Canadian database, I would be a happy camper. But so far, I've not been allowed that. So that is the pipe dream, and so this is another important step, because up until what we have right now in version 21, in reality, we have a base app, a Swedish base app. So the whole idea with that we have a WE1, a worldwide version, is kind of, we do, but then Microsoft are also maintaining a base app Sweden, right? So they're maintaining, I don't know how many base apps that are variations of WE1, or some sort of unhealthy relationship between that, by turning these things into extensions. Then Sweden will run on top of a true WE1 with just the added customizations. So I think this is pretty cool, and I hope that this process will accelerate, and we get more and more countries in like this. And the other one, supporting more countries and regions, we are now Central Online available to serve customers in 130 plus countries and worldwide regions. Worldwide regions. So this list gets into some pretty specific Isle of Man, Fiji, again. There's tons of new countries here. So welcome to the Business Central family. Pretty cool. So just to be clear, most of these countries will probably either get, I think they'll just get a W1 actually. I don't know if some of them, like the Isle of Man, will actually get a UK version, or Jersey, but maybe not. But it's pretty cool. So 130 plus countries. Then we are, apparently there's over 200 countries in the world, so there's still a few to go, but we're getting there. So now we're getting down to the interesting part, development. And if you remember the whatever video that was, version that was, where they suddenly started telling about this new thing that they were going to add, interactive designer thing. Now it looks like we're actually getting part of it at least. So AL Explorer and AL Home in Visual Studio Code AL extension. So the idea is that we are getting the AL Explorer, and this is, in reality, this is pretty close to some of the extension that already exists. If you have seen any of my videos, you will see that I quite often use the AZAL extension to navigate objects and stuff like that. So now we are getting that as the AL Explorer. And we can go to the source code and look at the source code. You can bookmark objects used frequently to easily filter a list of objects to only the bookmarked ones. So go to the source. So this means that instead of navigating the files that you have on the left side, you will kind of navigate your solution here, and then go to the source. So this is gonna be, as soon as we get this, I will cover this in a video. But it's quite interesting. Then the other thing is we're getting AL Home. And what is AL Home? Well, it's a startup page that will tell us something, what's going on. I tend to turn those things off, so because I got no time for that. But sure, nice. I'm not sure it really qualifies as a thing with a label and a trademark next to it, but well, there's no trademark next to it. But okay. Back in the olden days, we had the ability to attach the debugger to a specific session or to the next session. We lost that. Now we're getting it again. So we can, in a launch configuration, either specify that we want to attach to a specific session ID that's currently running, or we want to attach to the next session from a specific user. So we should specify user ID, and then we'll attach to the next session that user opens. So that's pretty nice, and a clear thing that has been missing. So good thing they added that. Improved compiler resource handling and faster code analysis. Sure, we can always work faster. Optimize. This is an interesting one. Optimized runtime package generation for sharing. So the problem right now is that if I want to share a copy of one of my apps, I have to go and generate a runtime package, and I have to generate a runtime package for every single version that I support. And currently my apps are supported from version 19 and up. Well, it's only the toolbox I'm actually supporting on-prem for, but well, also BCCL. But right now I'm creating runtime packages for the toolbox. Means that I have a big script that will run and then fire up a container with 19.0, import the apps and export them as runtime package. Then it will fire up a container with 19.1 and do the same thing, and 19.2, but 3, 4, 5, 8.15 or 16, or how long we are at this point now. So while requested, this feature does not introduce a new runtime package cloud service for partners to manage and share runtime libraries. Instead, focus on defining a standardized format for sharing on runtime packages by providing the ability to generate runtime packages with alc.exe instead of a service tier. So somehow we can build them from the compiler. I guess we still need to have the right set of symbols to get it to work with a specific version. Then that's the part that I am unsure of. If we need to have the ALC running for each version going back in time, but we'll see. As soon as we got something, I think that this is. Let me know if this is something you want me to do a video on. I'm interested in this myself anyway. So far nothing of this has been AL, but now we're actually getting something for AL. So we're getting a way to add an action to an error message. And there's an example. We'll get to that. There's an example of this later on where Microsoft used it. But think about, you get an error saying that you cannot do this because something. And the example they have is something about whether a document is open or released. So what is the thing that you need to do? Well, you need to open the document perhaps, or you need to add the posting group, or you need whatever it is. Why not give you an action that enables you to do that straight away from the error message? Seems user friendly. So I am looking forward to that. So there will be a add action to an arrow info object. So that's I'm totally gonna do a video on that one. Here's another one that's quite interesting. Control database logging behavior. So by default, whenever you do stuff in AL, the runtime engine will decide how to approach the database. And there's a few places where I think it's only in a report, actually you can say that you want to read uncommitted data. But now there's a read isolation attribute on a record. So you can now say that, hey, for this record I want to default. That's what we have. I want to be able to have access to read uncommitted. So if you want to read stuff that hasn't been committed yet, well, you can actually do that. I did a project a while back on the channel where I was trying to create a inter-thread communication, and I actually used read uncommitted for the threads to communicate. So that project would get way simpler with this. And we can now tell that update logs ensure the reads stay consistent for the life of the current transaction. So you read with an update log. We had the log table command, which is very specific behavior. So I think this will give us a more granular way to look at that. I'm sure the video will be coming on this one also. ALGO for GitHub. Well, it's very buzzwordy here. The target for ALGO for GitHub is to have 100% of the functionality needed by 90% of our partners. Very specific numbers. I think it's a good thing that Microsoft is adding these tools, and you can go watch the video I did on it in a very early version. A lot of the issues I had in that video has been resolved. And I have added in the Simple Object Designer now supports ALGO. So you can, when you're building your apps in the Simple Object Designer, you can actually commit to an ALGO controlled repo and use that. So that it's pretty cool. It's I just 100% of 90% of users. I find that funny. And the last thing in the dev section is also interesting. So up until now, and I can say that I have clicked on this hundreds of times, because the last time I looked at some of my apps, I had submitted to AppSource that many times. You have this thing where you get a preview in AppSource, which is a pointless showing of the page, the AppSource listing, but nothing else. So the app was never in preview. There was no way to put an app version into test and have folks test it. But that seems to be the capability now, where you can put the app in preview mode, and if you add the secret key, then people know the key, they should be able to select that one. This is not very detailed. This will provide publishers with a link to the preview app that include a custom flight code which can be sent to selected customers. Customers who are opted into the preview can install them and test the app in their environment and provide feedback. Pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that. That would be awesome for a lot of cases. I would use this specifically for the Simple Object Designer, because people are always figuring out new ways to build stuff, and it'll be cool to have the next version being in preview mode for those power users who build quite complex apps with something as simple as the Simple Object Designer. Anyway, that's it for development. I think there's more in development, because when we look at some of the other things, clearly we need to do what we're about to see from AL. So I'm pretty sure this list will get longer, but keep an eye on it. The next one, governance and administration. Here's the first one I really like. Experience Improvement App Management Settings, which is a very weird title that basically enable us to have auto-updating apps. So right now your apps will only actually get updated by Microsoft when they do a major update, so twice a year. But now you'll be able to, in the app management page in the admin center, to ask to keep your dates updated. So and there's also an update all in one click, I think they're saying. I love this. This is good stuff. That is very well. It's overdue, because there are so many apps now. I think the app, how far we have come with apps so quickly has actually surprised Microsoft. I know they're very keen on the number and so on, but I actually think that the app revolution has surprised them how fast it's actually going. Anyway, then we got cloud migration has been updated to be better. Great. Transfer environments between Azure AD tenants. So up until now, that has been a thing that we could ask Microsoft support to do. Currently, I have actually just a customer who called the other day and say, hey, we've been bought by somebody else. We need to move our Business Central to their tenant. Okay, And then, Microsoft support and all that stuff. But now we will be able to do it ourselves. So self-serve option for that, and I like it. Next section is legislation. I can't even say the word, so I'm just going to say that there's new tax stuff, and somebody who knows what an SAF-T compliance file export is, send me a link to a blog post and I'll read it. Up until that happens, somebody else knows more about tax than I do. Next section, onboarding. A way to find payroll apps. So we kind of have the app recommendations and so on. So now specifically for payroll, they're adding a way to promote that. Probably similar to the banking stuff they added earlier. And here's the thing. So modern tooltips are easy to read and understand, and refresh of content to support modern tooltip UI. So take a look at this. Now here's a pretty cool tooltip with something is in italic and in bold and so on. So tooltips are improving. This probably something in the dev section on tooltips also. And what was the other one? Better guidance in field tooltips helps people understand. The texts are rich text variants, bold. So I think these two are the same. But anyway, new and improved tooltips, that's pretty cool. Productive with Microsoft. Productive? Man, this is getting late. Wow. Productive. Oh, guys, you can drink if you need it. Smoke him if you got, and that's probably not appropriate to say anymore. Productive with Microsoft 365. Enhanced adaptive cards in Teams, and actually not so enhanced adaptive cards in Teams, because they kind of had a problem that you had a card with a default information shown, but maybe, and that card could be seen by users who perhaps did not have access to see the information. So you have an option to turn off the summary of what we're actually looking at. Not that I have ever heard anybody had that issue, but that might be a Europe thing. Okay, so we're down to the last box. And the first one is actually quite interesting from my perspective. Add existing fields to optimize your pages. So one of the features of the Simple Object Designer is the ability to add any field to a page. And apparently Microsoft has been inspired. So it looks like that can now be done through personalization. I'm not sure how this is actually going to play out, because I guess this has to be done by an admin, because some fields are not intended to be typed in. Maybe they should only be added if they're marked read only or stuff like that. Anyway, that's Microsoft's problem, because I have already solved that in my app. But it's interesting to see how they do this. The next one, drag and drop files onto the file upload dialog. The file upload dialog in Business Central has been enhanced with a clear drop area where users can drag and drop a single file. So you still need to click upload, and then you can drag it onto the dialog. That seems It seems like a hack. So if you have ever tried the SharePoint Connector app, one of my apps, the actual list box in Business Central is the drop zone. So you just drag your file directly onto the fact box. There's no drop zone or anything. The fact box itself is the drop zone. So as long as you can hit the fact box with a file, that's an upload. So it's kind of weird that it has to be the dialog. So you still have to click upload and then you can drag. But if you're dragging, you probably want to upload. So anyway, let's see how that plays out. I am not convinced. Access keyboard navigation menu. Access actions and navigation menu efficiently with keyboard. And this is needed. So we have had a lot of issues with PC being, what is the opposite of keyboard friendly? Keyboard not very friendly, and that's kind of been an issue also from a if it's hard to operate the mouse and stuff like that. So accessibility has not been that high for certain Business Central pages. So let's hope that improves. I think this is a good thing. Get more productivity out of an optimized action bar on all app pages. So in 2022 Wave 2, we got the modern action bar on 180 pages, the 180 most used pages in the system. So now they say that they have done it on all pages. Interesting. Yeah. Get unblocked using actionable error messages in select application areas. So going back to the thing we saw about the ability to add an action to an error message. The lines are locked because the sensor has been released. Reopen the order to edit the quantity would be a message that you will get. So now we have a reopen order, and since this is, so here's the thing I am unsure of. So you type 200 in a field, and then you get this thing. You click reopen order. Are the 200 then validated in the? I guess it has to be that way. Otherwise, this is only half a solution. But let's see. So I would suspect that the challenge with that approach in code is that if you get an error in the middle of a code and then you get an action that calls something else, but then you need to restart the action you're doing manually. We're going to do a video on this as soon as we have the ability. I am going to do a video on it. Let me know what you think about this. It's, yeah. Now we are down to two things. Then I'll let you guys go. Tailor action bar to fit your need on documents line. So the action bar that we have on above the lines on the sales order has kind of been living its own life and not really accessible, but now you can at least personalize it. It's also going to be interesting if the promoted stuff are going to work down here. So I'm gonna test that when I get to it. But good. And the very last one, copy and paste readable hyperlinks. Business Central now uses a simple and clear schema for link and window captions that is automatically updated as you navigate within the web client. As a result, copying a link to any Business Central page or record and pasting that in a rich text editor such as Outlook, blah, 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 will display a more meaningful hyperlink that is consistent no matter how or where you copy the link. So copy a link now, that's interesting because back in a few years ago, when you copy a link, you just got the link. But now, if you copy a link into Teams or into Outlook or stuff like that, you get a nice version with a title and so on. But that has always just been Business Central. But now I guess we're getting a proper title when we're copying a link. So. I think that'll be nice. And that concluded the list. So what do you guys think? Is this a big release? Is this a small release? Is this a boring release? Is this an exciting release? I know I didn't go over the application list in details, but I think my first impression was that was perhaps a bit lackluster. I'm waiting for new and exciting stuff in the app. I think we have an awesome platform, and it looks to the lack of new stuff. Let's see when the list is updated. But so far the only thing it seems that we're actually getting in AL is add action on Arrow info. But there might be other things. But comments below. And after all this talking and looking at a web page, if you need some AL code, you know where to get it. This video has lots of AL hacking in it. Go check it out. See you there. Take care. Bye.